So uh, welcome to our meetup. So I am Vinod Khanna, co-founder of MyDBOps. So today I'm going to brief you about running MySQL database on Kubernetes. So here is my agenda. So we are going to quickly discuss about the trend shift towards running stateful systems like databases on containers and what is Kubernetes operator and what is the need for running Kubernetes operator on the production. Okay, so the next thing is that what are the trending Kubernetes operators available right now and how we can utilize it to run our system efficiently. And if you are planning to run containers, Docker containers on databases in production, what is the things you have to be aware of? So these things will be discussing on the production readiness. So let's start our session. Okay, so Kubernetes, right? So as you can see in the recent days, right? So the way that application has been thought and designed has been completely changed. Um, so the technologies like containers and automation tools like Ansible uh, pushes to the extreme that building up an entire infrastructure with just lines of code, right? So which is really helping the new age developers to focus on the core application rather than spending time and firefighting with the infrastructure issues. Okay, so as the container utilization grows higher and higher, they requires a platform and some kind of a orchestration to manage um, one or many containers, right, on across the multiple physical nodes or VMs. Okay, so to effectively do it on scale and to take it to production, so we require some kind of orchestration layer. So there are many tools available that provide such kind of a container orchestration. Okay, so few of them are Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, and Mesos are very most popular ones. So Docker Swarm is okay, like it is useful for beginners, like, but if you want to effectively manage auto scale, control the resources, and do load balancing and across a lot of stuff like networking, and for that you require some kind of advanced technologies like Kubernetes or Mesos. And Kubernetes is being most popular container orchestration technology, which is being developed by Google, and it is being widely used by them. And it is also available as a service in the most prominent cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, and GCP. So thus, the Kubernetes provides us a rapidly scalable approach on containers. Okay, so this is good, and we were able to scale our applications very well on the containers using Kubernetes. So what's next? So database is being like untouched for years, uh, till the past 2 years, because people were scared to touch them because it is stateful and it means the business, right? So if your database is gone, your business is gone. Okay, as simple as that. So people were afraid to do some experiments with database technologies on containers, but there were always been a talk about running stateful systems on containers. Okay, so what shift that triggered that this trend change now is the the extensions available like Kubernetes operators that can impart that knowledge, product knowledge of databases onto the controllers, that orchestration controllers that helps to manage the database systems, just like how a database administrator sit and do his operations. So this is being very interesting. And one more thing is that database is the last layer. If you take in a three-tier architecture or a microservices architecture, database is going to sit on the last layer, right? So having entire setup built upon the container platform, and if you want to not have to run a database on a container, then you have to do some compromises, right? So the one of the other reason for going completely containerized is like it's a dedicated and secure environment. Okay, so which voids the purpose. You have to do either uh, port forwarding like node port, or you have to create services that exposes some ports to communicate between the databases outside of the container systems. So these are the some design level issues when rapidly scaling the applications that is being triggering this change. Okay, so I found this decision tree very interesting. I found this on the Google Cloud website itself. If it is that simple as that in the diagram, a lot of people could have moved to containers, but it is not a quick decision just like as the decision tree sources, right? So yes or no, yes or no, like within just 3 questions you can decide upon Kubernetes. You run your database on Kubernetes is something like um, not recommendable, but it requires a lot of a systematic and approach to understand what really it takes to run databases or any stateful systems onto a container platform. Okay, so here is a need of the Kubernetes operator. First of all, we will discuss upon what is Kubernetes operator. Okay, so so the native functions of the Kubernetes are well sophisticated for running a stateless containers, right? For example, if you want to run your applications, it's just an image. All you have to do is to spin up, to scale up, and shut down to scale down. But to run a stateful system like databases, which guarantees data consistency and data stability and safety, requires some amount of a product knowledge. So if you crash your system, there is a chances for data loss, but in production we cannot afford it, right? So that involves to have some decision taken to do the same thing for a stateful system requires some kind of a bold decisions. So to take such decisions, there are few considerations I would like to highlight, which are the most prominent ones, like auto node provisioning. So first thing is auto node provisioning, right? See, for example, you have a database of 500 gigs, and if you want to scale up because your load is getting higher, so you need to spin up one more instance. But the problem is, it is how quickly you can able to sync up that 500 gigs of data and make it sync with the current live node. So that is one of the key problem, and how to do it without interrupting the current system, and how automatically we can do that with less manual intervention, right? So this is called as node provisioning. And what is fault tolerance is, right? If my primary or the one where I am writing to currently goes down, what is my immediate plan of action? How quickly I can able to recover from that incident? And the third part is backup and monitoring. Okay, so how so for every database systems, because data is money, and uh, that is the everything, right? So how effectively we can back up and store it, and how quickly you can able to retrieve it when there is a need. So all this, and when you want to scale up and down, as I said already, so there is some amount of time delays that has to be calculated. So, and how effectively you can distribute the traffic. So all these are the design considerations before you have to think of making it to production. Okay, so with the native Kubernetes functionalities, it cannot be done, because this controllers of the native Kubernetes depends upon only the service states. Like it is, if it is running, it is servable. If it is not running, it's not servable. It's like spinning a stateless containers. That is absolutely fine. Okay, then there is no problem with that. But to run a stateful systems like databases, we require, as I said, require some database knowledge, how to add a node, how to backup and restore, how to sync. So all this has to be considered. Okay, so to do that, we have to program it, right? So if not human, it has to be programmed. Okay, so it has to be that controller capacity of the Kubernetes is extended, and called as an operator. Okay, so you can reference operator as a application specific controller, just like how the Kubernetes native controller keeps track of the states of the pods and then um, uh, making it live and taking it off the scenario, right? Similar thing, the operator can do it for the databases by programming the database specific um, processes into it. Okay, so by programming the operator, we can able to import all our understanding, all our processes onto the database into the operator. So and it can be automated for the next container management. Okay, so if you I have read the book called as O'Reilly Kubernetes Operator. Okay, so which is interesting, and it explains it explains the scope of the operator. Okay, so how far the operator controller can go. Okay, so right from the basic installation, see for example, if you want to set up a master slave, consider it. Okay, you have to spin the master first. Okay, you have to turn on the binary logs, and you have to spin the slave, take a backup from the master and restore it there and start the replication. So it's a basic install. So it requires some coordination. So you cannot simply randomly pick the servers and do the operation. So there is requires some order. So this order can be brought via operator, and basic installation can be performed. And consider the same scenario for the upgrades. If you are running a master slave setup in the Kubernetes, and if you want to upgrade to the next major version, so how you do that? So how effectively you can bring out the slaves from the production and take it offline and upgrade it and join back to the cluster and finally upgrade the master. So all these expertise that wherever that human intervention was there can be programmed and brought to the operator, and it can be automated. So as far as we can see, currently we are in the level of automation between the phase 3 and phase 4. We are almost close to deep insights, but we are not achieved that yet. Okay, so the complete workload analysis and real-time logging and everything has been achieved to a certain extent, but there is a lot of work more to go to reach the level of autopilot. So autopilot is like you can see right in Oracle, they're explaining about the autonomous mode, something like that. So you just don't have to worry about the change in the workload. So all it manages by itself. So that is the autopilot functionality. So up to that level, we can able to extend by progressing the operator or measuring the operator by imparting more and more database knowledge onto that. Okay, so so to run to run a database system on Kubernetes, we require these key components. Okay, so as I told, as we spoke about the operator, we know that operator is a controller. Okay, so to be in a short, operator is a controller with the database specific knowledge, consider like that. Okay, and it controls the physical volume. It's a persistent volume container or a storage class. Okay, persistent volume means that your data is not lost if your container is shut down. That is what it means. Okay, if a container is destroyed and can be recreated, but your data has to reside, so that is called as persistent volume containers. So for a database, the persistent volume container is a must. Okay, and we have the database knowledge imparted through program on the operator, and the services are the ones which is the gateway to access the databases. Okay, so services can be configured like I'm going to do a quick demonstration how what is a service and how it helps us to distribute the traffic, incoming traffic to the databases across the nodes we are going to spin. Okay, so service are the entry points to access the databases, so which I marked as LB, load balancing. Okay, so which the load can be balanced across the multiple servers behind. Okay, And stateful sets, it's more like a replica sets. Like in Kubernetes containers, you have a term called as replica sets. See, for example, if you say replica set to number 3, it will spin 3 application containers. So similarly, stateful sets in database terminologies suggest that similar kind of approach, but the difference is that it maintains the order of spinning, and it will maintain the naming convention. It will not allow the duplicate name to be put up on the container. So which means that uh, it is more strict form of the replica set that is used for the application. So here are the some trending Kubernetes operators that is available in the market currently. Okay, so whatever we are going to explain here is on open source only. Okay, so the first one is Percona ExtraDB cluster operator, which is developed for Percona ExtraDB cluster technology, which is a Galera cluster on top of MySQL. So the complete infrastructure is made into the Kubernetes operator for ExtraDB cluster by Percona. Okay, so the features of it is like the last commit of the Percona ExtraDB cluster operator is like few hours back or today. So which means that it is more actively developed. Okay, so and it is has been the Apache license. It's open source. You are free to use it. You are free to modify it. You are free to enhance it and distribute it. Okay, and it supports still the latest version, 8.0 version. So the latest version is 8.0.21. It is lagging behind 2 minor versions. So 8.0.19 is available in Percona ExtraDB cluster operator. And the next operator I'm going to explain is a PressLabs operator. So which is used by WordPress. Okay, so it uses normal native MySQL asynchronous replication technology to build its operator knowledge. So as you can see, right, each operator is built for its purpose. So Percona ExtraDB cluster operator has been programmed to have the knowledge of handling the ExtraDB cluster. Okay, PressLab MySQL operator by WordPress having the knowledge of handling the native replication. Okay, so certain things the operator is programmed, certain things more services are brought up to handle scenarios. For example, in asynchronous replication, the biggest problem is failing over to the next system, right? So when you have a master goes down for an instance and your application is down, so to avoid that, we need to fail over the slave to, we need to promote the slave to master and chain the master if it come back again, right? So this thing is handled by Orchestrator. There is one more service called as Orchestrator, which is a tool to manage topology. So rather than putting up that knowledge, they have integrated Orchestrator to support this topology changes in the PressLabs. Okay, so it is also more actively committed. It's not like Percona ExtraDB cluster, but it is also actively committed. We can see the last commit is on 10 days ago. Okay, so the next operator for MySQL and its ecosystem is PlanetScale. There's a company called as PlanetScale which developed Bitis. Bitis is a sharding solution built for MySQL. Okay, it's a solution. It's not a technology. It's a solution built for MySQL, which will use the MySQL. You can call it as a middleware actually. So it utilizes the MySQL databases on, it builds the layer on top of it to manage and maintain the data sharding. Okay, so it is also released as Apache 2 license. Okay, as you can see in this previous slide on this, I have mentioned what is the operator level for it. So the Percona operator level, maturity level is stage 4, which means that it is near the deep insight stage. Okay, even the PressLab MySQL operator. So to achieve that stage, it should have monitoring, it should have backup, it should have the resilience, failure resilience. So if it has all three, right, then we can call it as a stage 4, because we are able to monitor automatically, we are able to take backups automatically, we are able to spin and have some kind of a failure resilience. So we can call it a stage 4. So the next, the the planet scale Vitis is also on the stage 4 level. Okay, the only complex thing in Vitis, I will not call as a disadvantage, complex thing. Okay, so is that it has a lot of custom components to do this data sharding. Okay, so which may not be useful for a lot of audiences, because only few of the people may require such kind of a highly database distributed systems, and because it involves too many components, if you are having a real need of sharding, we can consider that. And the next thing is that Oracle MySQL operator. So the Oracle MySQL operator, they started to contribute towards that on 2018. It went good up to 2019 May, and after that we were not able to see any commits. It has been abandoned, and it was also achieved the stage 4 maturity at the time. It That operator was built on to the technology group replication and InnoDB cluster. It used MySQL dump for backup. I still feel that by imparting the recent improvisations in 8.0 will make this much better solution. For example, Karthik spoke about the clone plugin, how fast we can able to bring the node back online. So definitely that is the one of the key considerations when we are discussing about the operator and imparting knowledge onto the code, right? So by improving the operators, definitely we can able to make it better. But we can see that the last commit was made on 2019. Okay, so these are the 4 key open source operators that with some good level of progress. There are too many Kubernetes operators available and too many Kubernetes recipes available to spin database systems. But to maintain it in a production scale, we require an operator. And these are the 4 MySQL operators that has reached to a stage 4. Okay, so here I'm going to explain only on the Percona XtraDB cluster operator. Because as I explained you, right, it provides a synchronous replication and things. So this is the Percona XtraDB architecture. This is what it gives us. Okay, so if you spin up the cluster, okay, you can get to choose HA proxy or proxy SQL as a proxy to the database. Okay, so the default one is HA proxy. Along with that, the cluster will be built. Along with that, it will have the Percona extra backup to take a regular backup jobs. Okay, so when you execute this particular operator code, it will go and provision all these things at an instant. So that is the power of the Kubernetes operator. Okay, so what is the key advantage of having XtraDB cluster operator is it has a very good documentation support. So and so there are a lot of, as I spoke about, other operators also, right? So Vitis and Percona XtraDB cluster operator are the 2 operators with very clean documentation available. So if there is a clean documentation, then there is more understanding and lesser failures, right? So that is one of the very big advantage of using the Percona XtraDB cluster operator, where I feel that I had to do a lot of experiments to understand other operators, how it works, and there is only source. I have to go and read the source code a lot to understand what it is doing. Okay, so the Percona XtraDB cluster operator and Vitis is very good in documentation, so that will help you to save a lot of time. Okay, and if you are running a native MySQL instance, to migrate to the Percona XtraDB cluster is very easy rather than going to Vitis. Okay, so that is the key reason I have chosen Percona XtraDB cluster operator. And PXE, that's a Galera plugin inbuilt MySQL, which has auto provisioning by its native. It's by its default, it has the auto provisioning. So it does the job by doing SST through extra backup. Okay, and it provides a synchronous replication and fault tolerance. It requires minimum 3 nodes to run. For a 3 node to run, it can have a fault tolerance of 1. So it has to have majority of nodes to functioning. Okay, so and proxy SQL and HA proxy, you can get to choose either one of them, and these technologies, this proxy or load balancers, take care of distributing the traffic to the underlying databases. Okay, so physical backups can be taken regularly through the extra backup and pushed to the object storage. Okay, so as I told you, the one another important USP of ExtraDB cluster operator is it is 8.0 supported up to 8.0.19. Okay, with Galera 4 support available, which means that synchronous replication is even better compared to the previous versions. So having said that and explain things, so if you want to have if you are thinking of running your databases onto containers, I would suggest to invest some time on your learning curve. Okay, build operational expertise, because running containers is not only DevOps work. Okay, it requires a serious database engineering skills. Why? Because there are some scenarios where the operator cannot self-heal itself. See, for example, operators are programmed, right? So it can have its own corner cases. See, for example, as in MyDBOS, we are supporting a lot of clients to run their database systems onto the containers. But the common problems is like when all the node crashes, right? It is very hard to recover, because it's just go on a crash loop. You just have to break into the crash loop and do some changes to bring back everything to one piece. Okay, so this is something we have to look into. So this can be a problem when you are not managing your requests and resources properly. See, for example, you are having an application and the databases, you need to properly maintain the requests and resources into the configuration. So failure in doing it may cause you serious troubles. Okay, so again, so operators are man-made and programmed, so bugs can be expected, right? So, and if some bugs are there in operators, it can be deadly, because these are the controllers who controls all your databases. So you have to be well tested in multiple levels before making it to production. Having a weekly or daily upgrade on or auto upgrade on the operator is not recommended. Okay, and if you want to scale it very well, you have to develop the ability to customize and add more features to our existing operators. Just like I said, right? So the Oracle operator is abandoned in 2019. If you were about to explore that as an option to run your InnoDB cluster or group replication cluster, you can think of adding features like clone plugin to provision a node to a cluster, rather than doing a normal backup and recovery through MySQL dump. It is going to be time consuming. And you have to be well prepared on the benchmarks and expected performance numbers, because performance drop is expected, and the solution to that drop is to scale horizontally, because it is the truth that bare metal performance is always higher than the virtual machines, and virtual machines performance is going to be higher than the containers because of the penalties of the orchestrations we are going to pay, right? So we advise that you cannot expect the same performance numbers. We have to learn ourselves to scale horizontally. Okay, So that comes to my end of the session. So I know that it's been a long session, like almost 3 hours. Okay, so if you wish to continue a demo, let me know. I can uh, take a quick demo, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, to quickly set up a Kubernetes cluster, Percona ExtraDB cluster on Kubernetes, and and I can show a real quick demo for 10 minutes to you. Let me know your thoughts. Sandana, do we have time to continue?
Sorry, Vinod, we have very couple of minutes also as well. So, I think we can, we can create the demo session on a video and we can upload on YouTube also as well.
Uh, just 10 minutes, we can able to complete it.
Okay, Vinod. Yeah. I think there are a lot of requests coming for demo session. So please continue with the demo session, Vinod.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So I will share my screen for a quick demo. So maybe I will explain you step-by-step approach, how you can able to even test it out yourself. It's just very few steps. Okay, you can see the real action running. Okay, the first thing is that sign up for Google Cloud Platform. It gives you $300 free for 3 months to explore all its services. Okay, so what I have done is I have signed up for it and I have created a project MySQL K8. K8S stand for Kubernetes, MySQL Kubernetes cluster. You just have to click new project and create a new project. Once you have created your new project, you can go to the navigation menu and select Kubernetes engine. Okay, so this Kubernetes engine will hold all the Kubernetes cluster information to spin up. So this is the Kubernetes as a service area for Google Cloud. So you have to go to the navigation panel and select the Kubernetes engine and go to clusters. Okay, so I have already spinned up an instance, but I'm going to explain you what is the steps that is involved to spin up this instance, because this spinning up will take some time, 5 to 10 minutes. So I have spinned it up before, but I'm going to explain you the steps to spin up the cluster, and we will continue demo on the existing setup. Okay, so you have just have to do create cluster. And you have to just give the cluster name, say for example demo 7. Okay, then on the left hand side there is node pools. There you can define how many nodes in the cluster you want. Okay, what is the configuration type you want. Okay, so I'm going to select whatever the default, I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay, better you, if you want to run it yourself, you just better is allocate some decent amount of hardware. Like 4 CPU is good enough to spin containers. Okay, 4 CPU and 15 GB containers you can choose from, but for this just for testing, right, I'm just going to leave it as it is. But if you want to test it yourself, ensure that instance capacity is minimum 4 GB. Okay, and if you see in the cluster basics, we have given the cluster name. On the node pools, we have selected the uh, series and instance configuration. That's it. We're going to do create. Okay, so once it is created, there will be a tick mark in the green, okay, saying that the cluster is running. I hope you can see my screen. I will zoom it also. You can see in the screen that the cluster is running and there will be a green tick mark. Okay, so from here on, there is a two way of handling the things. Either you can connect it from the cloud shell itself. Okay, so you can click run in the cloud shell. It will open a window. From there, you can directly perform all your operations, just like doing in a run in a cloud shell. It will open up the cloud shell in the browser itself. From here, you can perform all your operations. It will spin some cloud shell machine backend, and it will make the terminal prompt available for you. If you don't want that, if you have the SDK installed, you need to have a Google SDK installed. You can do it on your own systems only. So right now, I'm going to do it on the Cloud Shell. See, I have done nothing. I have clicked connect, run in Cloud Shell. It gave me these options and I just pressed enter. Okay, I'm going to run kubectl get nodes to list what are all the physical machines available in my cluster. So as you can see, there are 3 machines available in my cluster, which is ready to use. So from here on, you just have to download the Kubernetes operator from the GitHub. Okay, so in Percona website, you can see, if you can search for Percona XRDB cluster operator, you can get to go to the GitHub. From there, you can clone it. I'm going to run 1.5 version of a Percona operator. So I'm going to clone it onto my system. Okay. So now the operator is cloned here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the operator. First, we need to run the deployment script, kubectl. So by running this command, it is creating the operator onto the Kubernetes cluster, what we have spinned right now. So you can see the operator has been deployed right now. Now you have to spin the cluster. The cluster can be spinned by running the one another YAML file. So that is the power of this automation. So now we can check the statistics and see what is happening behind. Okay. So pods is a terminology that we call it for containers. Not exactly that it will say that pods is a container, but you can relate to that. Okay, you can see that HA proxy is getting spinned. So we have 3 instances. So we will get to have 3 HA proxies and 3 cluster nodes, Percona XtraDB cluster nodes. So meanwhile, we have the password ready once the service is available to connect. Okay, so we'll get to the get the passwords to connect. So this password is protected, this password is an encrypted password. You need to decode it. Okay, password is decoded. Let's check the status again. Okay, now one system is up. Now the second system is getting spin. Can you able to see here? So first it spinned one instance and now it's spinning up the next instance and going to sync it. So meanwhile, we try to log into MySQL and see what is happening. So in Kubernetes, everything is a Docker. To have MySQL also, you need to run a Percona client MySQL to connect. So which runs a client container. From there, we can able to connect to MySQL onto Docker. Before going to that, we need to get the IPs to connect. So that can be called by getting the services. As I explained you in the session, services are the entry points to the Kubernetes cluster. So here we can see two services are there. Okay, the first one is the HA proxy service and second service is the HA proxy replicas. This will connect to single node, okay, which can be used for writing. The second endpoint can be used for reading. It will randomly distribute the traffic across the nodes. So now we have the password and we have the IPs to connect. Let's do some testing now. See, the MySQL 8.0.19 is up and running. So we can go and check the cluster size. So 3 nodes is joined. So let's test the load balancing, how load balancing is happening. As I told you, the first is for the writing. It will always point to one node. Let's test it out. Sorry. You can see it is always pointing to a single node. Now we will try with the cluster IP. Now we will try with the replica IP. Now we will try with the replica IP. You can see it is randomly connecting to different nodes and balancing the traffic. See, if you ask me like maybe 5 years before how long it will take you to set up a XtraDB cluster onto a production, we at least consume like 4 to 5 hours easily. Okay, to set up in a proper fashion, we have to tune the Linux, we have to optimize the TCP settings, we have to make the port openings. There is a lot of things involved in setting up a cluster. On top of that, we are installing a proxy to balance the traffic, so which will easily consume one day. So now we were able to set up the whole infrastructure for database, that the backend, in just 10 minutes, which I feel is amazing. And uh, I really feel that this technology is going to uh, push us to our boundaries, and um, this is going to be a very interesting change in the database ecosystem. Okay, so as currently we can see only 4 operators reach level 4. In near future, we're going to see a lot more operators coming up like this, because there is a lot of open areas like InnoDB cluster or group application. We don't have operator like this. Currently, we have a full-fledged operator for Percona XtraDB cluster. Okay, we want to see similar operators going to get available for next technologies like InnoDB cluster or group application, which will facilitate to use it on production. Okay, thank you guys.